Welcome back to the community that assesses every episode of Survivor based on 3 feminist criteria.
Community. The criteria of the community.
The criteria, what a criteria?
Community.
Criteria of their community. Criteria of community that is community. Still a community.
The community. Criteria.
The community.
Criteria. The criteria.
Community.
Community.
Why is the Bechdel test even a thing? Why do so many movies and television shows center on male characters to the extent that a single scene of 2 women conversing is noteworthy? There's a line from an essay that has stuck with me ever since I read it years and years ago. It has been said that boys will read only stories about boys, but girls will read anything. To this day, if you walked into an elementary school classroom and saw one girl reading Harry Potter, another girl reading Diary of a Wimpy Kid, and a boy reading The Babysitter's Club, only the latter would seem strange. Across our society, there is an assumption that men and boys are uninterested in the experiences of and the relationships between women and girls. So I find it remarkable that Survivor 47 Episode 10 starts with a very long look at the strain in Genevieve and Teeny's relationship. We see them talking together, and we get confessionals from both of their perspectives, all before the opening credits. Here is just a taste of what was truly a full meal of Genevieve and Teeny content.
I cannot honestly believe that you would not include me on the plan. Like, I can't. Like, it actually just speaks volumes to how you see me, and, like, I'm hurt.
And the only reason I didn't do it earlier was because of my emotional connection with you. That's why I don't want emotional connections with everybody, because I already feel so beholden to you. And when I see you crying, like, I genuinely regret what was a good, right move for me.
I knew there would be fallout from this all, though. The fallout's name is Teeny. When you hurt someone and see them so distressed and know that it's entirely your fault, doesn't feel like a fun game anymore.
Our relationship is like,
I know,
so complicated.
we're so different.
I know, like that's,
I've never lied to you.
I know, but at some point you will, and you will have to for your own gain.
And we both kind of acknowledged there's an end coming for us, and it's not sharing $1 million. I'm playing this game with so much emotion, which was my biggest fear coming in here, and I don't know how to switch it off.
Survivor's a show that thrives on mass appeal. I could easily imagine a CBS executive worrying that starting an episode that way would cause male viewers to get bored and change the channel. But all of that made the air. I wonder why. Is there a Genevieve Teeny moment coming in a future episode that is going to define the season as much as the Jesse Cody story defined Survivor 43? Or do the Survivor editors just find Genevieve and Teeny compelling and trust that their viewers, even their male viewers, will agree? It's clear who Survivor editors love the most, though, and that's Andy. In this episode, he becomes the first player I can think of to have a metaphor that he's making illustrated with B-roll.
I built a web of different alliances that no one really sees the full picture except for me, and it's very sticky, and everyone's caught up in it, and, you know, all I gotta do is crawl over here and decide, you know, who my next victim is. Bite their head off, and crawl over here and decide who my next victim is after that.
And he scores his 4th episode title. Loyal to the Soil, while a cute rhyme, does not fit this episode. A better title would have been...
That bad it there. Now it looks like this. I feel like this is just another cherry on top of the mess that my game feels like right now.
Or, even better...
You know, I came into the game saying that, like, I don't want to be the captain, I want to be the ocean. Like, I want to just, like, turn the ship in a direction I want. I don't need to be holding the steering wheel.
Naming this episode I Want to Be the Ocean would have been a great misdirect, too. Because the entire episode long, Rachel expresses her preference to vote Genevieve. The boat doesn't float that way, though. Instead, Rachel votes with the flow and Gabe is gone. Even so, Rachel's confessional clearly articulates her plan for the game, and so satisfies my 3rd criteria. The extensive Genevieve and Teeny content is more personal than strategic, so I'm going to call that Category 1. As for Category 2, the best strategic conversations between women this episode were a trio of them involving Caroline.
My only fear about doing Gabe right now, like, once Gabe's gone, who is everyone else looking at her?
Simply Genevieve.
You are the possibility to be down to her.
She was very, very connected to me, to the point where she won't consider it.
Yeah. But you will, for all that we need to get Genevieve out.
I actually think we're in an incredibly good position.
Okay.
Incredibly
I'm touching
Ultimately, it was Caroline who had the most interesting decision to make about whether to vote Gabe.
Targeting Gabe means targeting Sue and betraying her trust and potentially destroying our alliance.
And honestly, I think she got too little airtime. It will be interesting to see if the next episode starts similarly to this one, except with Sue and Caroline unpacking their dynamic, and Caroline's decision to leave Sue out of the vote. The same article where I first read the observation that boys will read only stories about boys and girls will read anything, goes on to say that, according to the sexist formula, men and boys are active. They are logical thinkers, problem solvers, and decision makers. Women and girls, when they are visible at all, appear as passive secondary characters. One scene of I Want to Be the Ocean that adheres closely to that formula is the rice negotiation. Watch this clip and you would think that the terms of the negotiation were proposed by a man, to a man, that one man dissented, but another man changed his mind, and the women just stood there nodding. Rewind a moment, though, and notice that the idea of exchanging shots in the dark for rice originally came from Caroline.
What if two of us gave up our shots in the dark?
No.
What if you got all the shots in the dark?
All the shots in the dark?
Every shot in the dark down the line. Wow.
Kyle increased the number of dice on offer, but I'd call this heap-eating. Heap-eating, when a woman's idea is dismissed but then taken seriously when stated by a man.
What if two of us gave up our shots in the dark?
No.
What if you got all the shots in the dark?
If you have clever ideas like that, apply to be on Survivor.
Can't believe I proposed something that you were in on.
It's because that's not what happened, Kyle. The final scene we need to discuss is Teeny's confessional about gender identity. It's so sad.
I don't know exactly how I fit in a sort of man and woman binary world. I feel like I'm dealing with a lot of very personal inner world issues and trying to mask them for the sake of my game. And it's getting harder because I'm losing people who I care about, and people who I thought I could trust, I can't trust anymore. So I just feel really alone in processing myself in this game and my place in this world and who I am.
My all-time favorite Survivor player is Dr. Evie Jagoda. They used she pronouns and self-described as a woman while on the show, but has since come out as non-binary. They are the castaway I most want to see return for season 50, because they've talked about how much better they would play now, no longer weighed down by secret pain. I'd hoped that season 47 was going to star a loud and proud, sure of who they are, happy non-binary person. But instead, Teeny seems to be struggling in secret so much like Evie did. Teeny is going through it instead of standing sparkling on the far side. That makes her a compelling character, but not really aspirational representation. Is there more coming about Teeny's gender identity journey in future episodes, or is that one scene supposed to tick that box and we move on? One additional note in the interest of fairness, last episode I complained about Sam calling grown women girls, but in this episode Rachel calls grown men boys.
Clearly, these two boys, Kyle and Sam, want Gabe out.
So that's a wash.
The Taylor Swift's Honest Truth.
You know, there's societies in Korea where it's just women who choose to live together.
This is Survivor. Nothing's ever so cookie cutter. Oh, boys and girls.
Right.